Welcome back to another episode of reacting to r/personal finance. Now, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not going to be financial advice. This is just my humble opinion on what I would do if I were in these different financial situations. Now, one thing I do want to say before we get into the first one, I'm going to put my email on the screen and I'm going to put my email in the description down below. If you would like to be featured on one of these videos with your financial situation and get my opinion on what I would do, go ahead, send me an email. My main ask of you guys is to explicitly state either in the subject line of the email or the email description that you are fully okay with me featuring your financial situation in the video. I want to have full consent. I don't want to air anyone's financial situation out on accident. So the only emails that I will feature have to explicitly state that you are okay with me showing them in the video. So as long as I get that, I will go ahead and react to your situation. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the first one here. Buy a house now or keep investing in rent for 5 to 10 years. And it reads as follows. I'm currently 28, living in a high cost of living city and was able to save and invest $250,000 living at home. I'm planning on getting married soon and I'm considering moving to a more affordable city to purchase a house since I work remote. I will end up dropping around $200,000 for the down payment in order to afford the monthly mortgage. On the other hand, I kind of want to keep $250,000 invested and see where it goes in the next 5 to 10 years. I honestly don't mind living in an apartment and watching my investments grow. I could maybe buy something better in the future. Any advice? Would it be a dumb move to pull out my investments and buy a house, or should I keep renting and investing? Now, there's a reason I wanted to show this situation first, and because the debate between buying a house and keeping money invested is a classic financial debate. And honestly, it can go both ways depending on how you play it. So first off, let's cover the basics. This 28-year-old is in a great financial position. $250,000 invested is way ahead of most people at 28, and that alone puts this person in a completely different bracket financially. Now, the decision, as the post said, is basically, do I pull $200,000 out in cash and buy a house, lock that money into real estate, or do I keep it invested, keep renting, and let that money grow? And when it comes to this situation, the first thing I like to think about is opportunity cost, because pulling out $200,000 out of the market, that's a significant amount of money. And that money over 5 to 10 years, especially at this age, that could grow a lot. Like that could easily double if we're being honest. So if I'm in this situation, me personally, I am not going to rush to buy a house just because I can, especially since he said that he does not mind renting right now. That already is a win in my book and kind of pushes you towards one direction. Because let's be honest, we all know this. Renting gives you flexibility when it comes to your living situation. And that flexibility is really valuable, especially like when you're this guy. You're young, you're getting married soon. You don't know what life's going to bring to you in the next year. So you're still trying to figure out how you want to live life. Maybe your living situation might change and you might want to move to a completely different state. So when you're this young, buying a house like that and pulling that much money out, I would kind of stay away from that. Another thing is putting $200,000 down, quote, just to afford the monthly payment, to me, that's a red flag. That tells me that this house is probably stretching that budget a bit, and that's exactly how people end up house poor. So personally, if it were me, I'm leaning towards continue to rent and continue to invest that money, at least for now. Let that $250,000 keep compounding and give yourself a good amount of time to figure out location, lifestyle, and what you and your new spouse want long term. Because once you buy, all that flexibility pretty much goes out the window. You're tied to that location, you're tied to that payment, you're tied to that maintenance. Anything that goes on with that house, you are tied to. Now, obviously, I'm never saying to not buy a house, but I'd want to buy a house when it feels obvious, not when I'm forcing it because I can, or I think I should, or if I pull all my investments out, I can maybe afford the monthly payment. Also, as I mentioned, getting married soon is a huge variable. That's a decision that you probably want to make with your new spouse, not lock yourself into it beforehand. So overall, it's not a dumb move to buy a house, obviously, but I also think rushing to pull that $200,000 out of investments right now is probably going to be the bigger mistake. So the biggest takeaway here for me is Just because you can afford something does not mean it is the best move. Sometimes the smarter play is to stay flexible with your living situation, keep investing that money, let it grow while you're young, and just wait for the right time to come around where you're fully convicted in the idea of buying a house. I apologize I'm making these so small, by the way, but I don't want to affect the gameplay. Now, the second situation is titled, Should I Pay My Credit Cards Off with My Savings with These Figures? $2,800 in credit cards, $9,800 in savings. And this is under the debt category. Now, it reads as follows. I've been riding the spiral really hard the last year or so of making huge credit card payments to get it down and almost always not have to actually pay interest on anything. But it just keeps getting worse, and every time I pay it down, I think I have room to just charge this and that for now. And before I know it, I'm back to the same amount I had pre-payoff. I have other loans, student loan, down payment assistance I'd like to start making meaningful progress on, as well as retirement savings. I'm 26 and just opened a Roth. I feel like I just can't get ahead on any of this stuff because all my extra money goes towards funding the credit card spiral. If I cut it off in one fell swoop, cut up the cards, and remove them from my phone, I feel like I will have so much more mental clarity over my financial situation and finally be able to build and not just maintain. Thoughts? So this situation, I feel like a lot of young adults fall into because they start using their credit cards, they get a little overconfident, they continue to use their credit cards, and then they want to get out of it, but they've made it such a habit that they can't get out of it. They always keep putting money back onto their cards every time they get close to paying it off. So in my opinion, this is actually more of a behavioral issue than a financial issue, but it is a very simple fix. So let's get into it. Now, obviously, $2,800 in credit card debt, $9,800 in savings. Mathematically, the first thing you need to do is absolutely 100% just pay off the credit card. If you are out there and you're in a similar situation and you paying off your credit card debt isn't going to lower your savings that much, you absolutely need to do it. By this person paying off their whole credit card, they'll still have around $7,000 left over. That's still a nice little chunk of cash for a 26-year-old. But the part that matters more is what they said right here. Every time they pay it down, they just build it right back up again. That is the real issue. That's the behavioral issue I was referring to. So if I'm in their shoes, on top of paying off the credit card 100%, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to remove the temptation of using that credit card, because if they do not fix that behavior, they're just going to spend money on their credit card again and rack up those bills. So immediately after paying it off, I would do what they suggested thinking of doing, and that's taking the cards off your phone, maybe cutting them up, throwing them away, deactivating them, hiding them. Anything you can do to remove the temptation of using a credit card, you absolutely need to do to keep yourself from falling back into that same pattern. Because right now, they even said it themselves. They see their available credit as room to spend money. That is not a good thing. That is not how available credit works. That is borrowed money with interest. If you see your available credit as room to spend money, that is exactly how you're keeping yourself stuck in your finances. Now, the other concern people have is, should I really use my savings to pay off my debt? In this case, absolutely you should. Now, this can get a little wishy-washy depending on how much, debt you're in, how much is in your savings, but in this specific example, absolutely use your savings to pay off your debt in total. Because if you read between the lines of this whole post, it seems like what this person's really looking for is, how can I stop using my credit cards and I want more mental clarity with my finances? And getting rid of that constant cycle is going to free up that person's mental energy, and it's going to free up a lot of the stress and anxiety that comes along with finances. So like they said, instead of maintaining their finances, now they can focus a lot of that extra money and time towards looking at investments, looking at building their savings more, etc. So after that, and this person gets rid of the temptation, obviously you need to focus on staying out of debt, but on top of that, now you'll have the time to allocate money towards other goals. So this can be, if you have student loans, retirement, all of that stuff. So overall, pretty simple fix here. Pay the card off, fix the behavior, don't fall back into the cycle. And the biggest takeaway for me here is, if I have the money to pay off high interest credit card debt 100%, and it's not going to affect my savings that much and still leave me in a good position, absolutely 100% I am going to pay off that debt. The next financial situation revolves around employment, and it is titled, Should I Quit a New Job After 1 Month for My Preferred Offer? And it goes as follows. I'm looking for some neutral advice on a career dilemma. I've been in my industry for 10 years and generally stay at companies long term, only 2 employers in a decade, so I value my professional reputation. I was recently job hunting for a few months and had 2 paths. Option 1, the bank. This was my preferred role. I have professional contacts here, but the recruitment process was stalled for over a month due to internal red tape and B, approval. I couldn't get a firm timeline or guarantee. Option 2, the current job. Because I was burning through savings, I accepted a job offer from a consulting firm that moved very quickly. I've been here for about a month now. They hire 10 to 15 people monthly, so it seems like a high churn environment. The dilemma. Yesterday, the bank finally came back with an offer. It's for a role that I originally wanted and pays 15% more than my current salary. Leaving after only a month feels like bad practice and potentially insulting to the company that stepped up when I needed the work. However, option 1 is the better long-term fit and offer. What would you do? Is the 15% bump and the better role worth burning a bridge at a high-volume consulting house? Hope this is the right place to ask since it has to do with money. Now, this situation, in my opinion, is honestly very simple. The original poster has one right answer here, and it's to take the new job. But I'll explain why, and they can't let emotions get in the way. I understand why they're doing it. I went through something similar, but you have to accept a new offer, and here's why. First off, this person has been in their industry for 10 years, so I get it. They care about the reputation, they don't want a job hop, so naturally, after a month already leaving, it feels wrong. But let's look at the situation from all angles. They took this current job because they needed income, not because it was a long-term fit, not because it aligned with their goals. And now the job they actually wanted came knocking on the door and said, hey, we're here for you. Here's the job offer. It's a better role, it's a better fit, and 15% more pay. So if I'm in their shoes, 110% I'm taking the bank job pretty easily. Now, this person is taking it a little too far in my opinion, saying that they don't want to come off as in they're burning bridges, but the original poster said it themselves. This company is hiring 10 to 15 people every single month. High churn environment, more than likely, they see people leave all the time. I wouldn't take it as if you're going to burn bridges because there's a very easy way to actually go about handling this. All you need to do is be honest, be respectful, and give the notice. Let the company know. Say, hey, I had a new position roll around. 2 weeks from now, I got to leave. It is what it is. And just explain that the opportunity came up and aligns more with your long-term career. Any respectful adult will go ahead, take that into consideration, and you're not going to burn any bridges. One thing I would also do as well is I would probably leave this, little stint of a month, leave this off your resume. You don't need to add this on your resume because it's just going to bring up more confusion and more questions from recruiters. Also, at the end of the day, simple as it is, you just have to prioritize yourself. At some point when it comes to your career, you need to be a little bit selfish because no company is going to prioritize it for you. And 15% more pay is not nothing. That compounds over time. That's a lot more money over time. Plus, once again, as I said, it's for the role they actually wanted. So if I'm them, 100%, I'm making the new move. If you're out there in a situation similar, take the new job offer, experience something new, go get more money. And the biggest takeaway here is you will never owe a company long-term loyalty for short-term situations that you find yourself in with them, especially when better opportunities are right around the corner and they align with your financial goals. And for the last situation here, I like doing around 4 of these a video. Let me know if I should do more or less in the comments, but it is titled, What to Do with My Money. And this goes as follows. I am 19 years old, full-time college student, and I have about $15,000 saved in my checking account. I know it's bad, don't come at me. My parents are really stupid with money, so I was never taught what to do with my money growing up, like investing in stuff. Should I invest my money or should I put it in a high-yield savings account? If I do invest, do I get taxed on it? And does it affect my financial aid for school? Also, with investing, do I just buy stocks of like Apple and then it accumulates? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, so I'm going to be honest here with this post. I genuinely can't tell if this is rage bait or this is a genuine 19-year-old looking for advice. But the reason I want to talk about this situation in particular is because I think this happens to a lot of young adults. We start getting some money, but your parents never really taught you anything. School never taught you anything. And you're kind of sitting there with all this money wondering, what do I do with this? How do I not mess this up? Now, getting back to the situation here, this person, the reason I think this is kind of a little bit of rage bait is because they said they're 19 years old with $15,000 saved, and then they said in parentheses, they know that's bad. That's not bad at all. If you're 19 years old and you have $15,000 saved, those are elite numbers for a 19-year-old. Like most people that age have either nothing or are in debt. So this person's already way more ahead than they realize it, especially for a 19-year-old. So the question basically comes down to this: what do I do with this money without messing it up? I got $15,000. I don't want to screw it up. So if I'm in their shoes, I'm definitely not going to rush to do anything first, especially being in college. This person needs some type of flexibility when it comes to their finances. So I would say the first thing to do is to set aside money in an emergency fund, probably like $3,000 to $5,000, just sitting in a high yield savings account. Nothing fancy, just sitting there where you can access it and it's gaining a little bit of interest. Now, once I set that money aside into the emergency fund, at this point, this is when I would start to look at investing some of that money. Now, I definitely would not overcomplicate it. I'm not going to try to pick stocks here. I'm not going to put my money in Apple and hope it works out. I'm going to start with something super simple, like an index fund, something like VOO, something like VTI, and just consistently put money in over time, let it compound at this young age. Now, the reason you want to invest on top of having a high yield savings account is because a high yield savings account is a great place to park money. You're going to earn interest, it's safe, you can access it, but it's not the best for actually growing your money over time. Now, let's talk about the taxes part. This is one of those things that if you are 19 and you're trying to get into investing, don't let taxes scare you away from actually investing, because it's a lot more simple than people think. Typically with investing, you're not going to get taxed for just investing. You're only going to get taxed when you make money and actually realize it. So if you buy stocks, they go up, but you don't sell those stocks, you don't owe anything yet because you technically haven't made any profit. Now, if you do sell and make a profit, that's when taxes kick in. And if you hold it for over a year, it's usually going to be taxed at a lower rate. Obviously, this is more so referring to something like a brokerage account. Now, for something like a high yield savings account, you will get taxed on the interest you earn every year, but at this level, it's not a huge deal, and it should definitely not scare you away from opening a high yield savings account. Now, if you want to keep things super simple and tax efficient, the go-to is a Roth IRA. Your money grows tax-free, and you don't pay taxes when you take that money out later. Now, obviously, the caveats are that you have to wait till retirement age, but overall, I would just keep it super simple when it comes to investing. Find index funds, open a Roth IRA. My Roth IRA is through Fidelity. Very good, easy website to use. My high yield savings account is through SoFi. Very easy app to use. And these are all things that I would highly recommend a 19-year-old to start educating themselves on. So overall, for this situation and for anyone in a situation like this, first things first, you need to educate yourself. Read books, watch YouTube videos, whatever's going to make the information stick the most for you. Second thing is you need to keep some cash on hand just for safety, sitting in a high yield savings account for rainy days, for emergencies, whatever it might be. Then third thing, start investing gradually, slowly, and very simple. And last but not least here, don't try to be fancy with your money. At 19 years old, you're going to be enticed by a lot of people on the internet telling you to buy their course, you'll 10x your money overnight, telling you to sign up for their mentorship program, telling you to buy this meme coin, and you're going to be a millionaire in 3 months. It does not work like that. Life does not work like that. So what I would do is educate yourself, learn how to invest, very simple, into index funds, and it's going to make your life so much easier as you grow. And the biggest takeaway here is, obviously, when you're 19 years old, you do not need to be perfect with your finances, but getting some type of start, getting some type of plan going that young, it's just going to make your 20s easier. It's going to make your 30s easier. It's just going to make the rest of your life easier, because time when it comes to investing and growing money is the biggest advantage. And when you're that young, you have so much time on your hands to let your money actually grow. So that is it for all the situations that I got in this video. Once again, if you guys enjoy this type of content, like, subscribe, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget, my email will be in the description. If you would like me to react to your financial situation or give my financial opinion on it, I will be more than happy to. Just make sure you do fully give me consent in the email that I'm able to use it for the video. Other than that, I really appreciate you guys for watching these videos, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good day.